This is the Bay Area's news station. KRON 4 News at 8 starts now.
Tonight at 8, the 49ers taking to Levi's Stadium Field for the first time ever. They played their first preseason game, losing, unfortunately, to the Denver Broncos 34-0. But the biggest issue today wasn't the game. It was the parking situation. KRON 4 Scott Rates is live for us in front of Levi's Stadium. Scott, this was the first big test. How did it go?
Well, you know, Vicki, 70,000 plus fans out here. This really was the first big test. And, you know, 49ers officials told me that they really wouldn't get a good feel for how it would go until this game. Well, the fans, they loved the stadium out here. They only had one gripe, and that was getting in and getting out. Kickoff for the first time at Levi's Stadium, and despite the 49ers not scoring a point, fans, for the most part, loved the new stadium.
What can you say that's not great about this stadium? They've thought of every possible thing. Technologically, we're beyond the 21st century.
In my opinion, it has the same soul and spirit as Candlestick did, which is very important to a community, but at the same time, it had all the upgraded facilities.
But what about the biggest issue on everyone's mind? What was the traffic like coming in?
Horrible.
Traffic sucked. There was no signs posted. We came in the back way by 237 and we missed our parking lot and we had to go back and reverse, and it was not fun.
It was bad. Yeah, 880 traffic is pretty bad.
A nightmare. We came in on a bus. But I'll tell you, having the highway patrol guys at all the intersections, that was a dream.
Honestly, we only have one gripe, and that is that traffic is really bad. And we followed the directions on the back of the parking permit, which led us, you know, through Tasman, through Old Something Drive, and it was still horrible.
We actually took the VTA, and we saw people going on 880, and it was very packed.
And that little guy right there had the right idea, taking public transportation. I checked with the officials at VTA. They tell me that everything was running on time. So really, that was the best way to go. But Vicki, everybody really loves the new stadium out here. It's really, really nice. It's amazing in there.
All right.
Vicki.
Well, yes, we understand it's state of the art. But Scott, besides the traffic and, of course, the score, we didn't care for that. Was there anything else that fans seemed to have a problem with at the stadium?
You know, the one thing they told me they did have a problem with today, and it's probably just one of those things that needs to be worked out, was actually the Wi-Fi, believe it or not. There's free Wi-Fi all throughout the stadium, and there's also an app that people can use inside the stadium. We've told you about that before, and they said they had a little bit of problem with that app, and they had a lot of problem getting onto the Wi-Fi, but hopefully officials can get that figured out, Vicki.
All right, Scott, thanks for reporting on that. Meanwhile, Niner fans, we're looking forward to opening day for quite some time. KRON 4's Alicia Reed caught up with a few folks in the parking lot who kept their pregame tradition going strong.
You got to start the fun off in the parking lot. So before you get to the game, all the fun and eating starts here. A little dancing, some grilling, sweets, and veggies.
We just had bacon burgers with cheese and all kinds of great toppings on it. So she thought that she would need to balance it out with some vegetables and hummus.
Not this guy. He's all about his steak, which was common all around the parking lot.
We're cooking a little bit of steak and chicken with asparagus.
Gotta be prepared for a tailgate.
We have some chicken that was marinated overnight. I have a T-bone steak here that I got out of Auburn.
It's the first game played in the Levi's Stadium, so we have to be here.
This is all part of the culture that I was worried that they were going to lose at Candlestick when they came over here. I'm really glad that they have the open flame lot.
Tailgating is the best part. Being with all the fans, all the different generations, all the different traditions, you know, your favorite foods and the nice weather. It's nothing better.
The weather's awesome. We're just going to have to get used to the difference between this and Candlestick, because Candlestick, it was chilly, and here I'm already hot.
Much warmer than Candlestick. I would not have worn shorts and flip-flops to a game in San Francisco, but I definitely knew it was going to be nice weather today.
It's not Candlestick, but, you know, I think it's going to work.
Reporting from Levi Stadium, Alicia Reed, KRON-4 News.
And if you're hungry for more 49ers coverage, stick around for Sports Night Live with Jason Applebaum and Bip Roberts. That's tonight at 9, right after the news. 49ers fans paid special tribute to beloved Bay Area actor Robin Williams at the preseason game today. A moment of silence was held as a picture of Robin was shown on the Jumbotron. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder has announced the Justice Department will conduct its own autopsy of the unarmed Missouri teenager shot by a police officer. The news came this morning after more violence occurred during an overnight curfew in the town of Ferguson. Paulo Sandoval reports.
We are trying to use the least amount of force to provide people to the ability to speak while also protecting the property of the people of Ferguson.
The first night of curfew in Ferguson, Missouri is over, but not without more violence. Smoke and tear gas once again filled the air, resulting in 7 arrests.
Thousands of people marched, and not a single gunshot fired by a member of law enforcement last night.
Missouri State Police say someone in the crowd of demonstrators fired a gun, injuring 1 person. Not much else is known about that incident. Missouri State Highway Patrol Captain Ron Johnson spoke about the conflict at Sunday church services.
My heart is heavy. Yesterday was a tough day. You know, sometimes when you're trying to create change, you start having conflict with your friends.
Sunday also bringing news that U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder is ordering the second autopsy on the body of Michael Brown. The Justice Department will use the original state-conducted autopsy in the investigation as well. Missouri Governor Jay Nixon welcoming help from the feds.
I think that the dual parallel investigations of justice and the local really add they just help.
Going forward, Governor Nixon says authorities will continue making sure people can peacefully express their frustrations.
Paulo Sandoval, KRON-4 News.
The Ferguson curfew will resume tonight at midnight. Before the Justice Department's announcement, the Brown family lawyer hired a high-profile pathologist to conduct a separate autopsy. There's no information if that autopsy will still be taking place. President Obama, meantime, is set to meet with Attorney General Eric Holder tomorrow to discuss the situation in Ferguson. The meeting comes just over a week after the teen was shot. A memorial tonight for a 2-year-old little girl killed in a hit-and-run accident. Friends and family are gathering on Mission Street, San Francisco tonight, asking for the public's help to bring the driver to justice. KRON-4's Dan Rubin is with Myanna Gregory's family. He's joining us now live. Dan?
Yeah, Vicki, they actually just started arriving just behind me. They're lighting candles and adding to the rather sizable memorial that's being set down here on Mission Street between 4th and 5th. Now, they've been very active on social media sites. Also try to speak with them in just a moment. They have set up a fund in Myanna's honor that is set up online. In the meantime, there's nothing they'd like more than to bring that driver to justice. The 5th and Mission garage was busy on Sunday. Pedestrians filled the crosswalk where 2-year-old Myanna Gregory lost her life. Some paused to look at the growing memorial for the 2-year-old. Just after 10:30 Friday evening, Myanna was with her twin 2-year-old brother, Mikey, and another family member.
Her aunt is in a bad way. She was the one that had the children.
They had just seen a movie when this white 4-door sedan hit and killed Myanna. The driver of the car did not stop at the scene. The day after, SFPD found plenty of other cars to stop. Over 40 citations were handed out at the same crosswalk on Mission Street within just 2 hours. On Sunday, less of a police presence, although more citations could be issued. This family with 2 children, including one in a stroller, was entering the same crosswalk where Myanna was killed, even though it clearly wasn't their turn to cross. Myanna's family cares less about right-of-way. More important to them, they want to find the car that drove off.
We shouldn't have to go through pictures and cameras and try to find you. Like, you turn yourself in, you know what you did last night. I don't know how you're sitting at home with yourself, knowing that you killed my niece.
Now, SFPD has not provided any updates to the investigation. We also tried to speak with Myanna's mother through family members. They say she's still way too distraught to speak. Reporting live in San Francisco, Dan Rubin, KRON-4 News.
And as Dan mentioned earlier, a memorial website has been set up in honor of the little girl. You can donate at the link seen here on your screen. San Francisco police are investigating an attempted homicide that happened this morning. They say a man was walking with his wife near Polk and Ellis Streets. Then they say the couple noticed people shouting and heard a gunshot. Moments later, the man realized he had been shot in the leg. Police say his injuries don't appear to be life-threatening. A female was detained in connection with the crime, but has not yet been been charged. Firefighters contained a small grass fire in a marshy area in Bay Point this afternoon. Here are several pictures of the fire from the Contra Costa Fire Department. Officials say the blaze was reported about 3:30 north of the railroad tracks near Poinsettia and Sassoon Avenues. The fire was reportedly seen as far east as Pittsburgh and Antioch. Officials say it was difficult for firefighters to access the fire due to the marshy area. The cause of the fire remains under investigation tonight. A man was arrested after authorities say he crashed a truck and ran around naked on Highway 101 in Petaluma. CHP says Alexander Leonard was driving the truck in and out of traffic this morning. They say he crashed into a guardrail, then he got out and took off all his clothes. The CHP says officers had to use tasers to take him into custody. Northbound lanes of 101 near East Washington Street had to be closed down, but were reopened after about 15 minutes. The parents of a missing mentally ill woman from Pennsylvania have driven across the country to San Francisco with hopes of finding their daughter here. KRON 4's Philippe Jagal spoke to the couple still searching for answers.
She's delusional, depressed, quite paranoid.
Most importantly, 37-year-old Susan Bachman's parents, Bill and Nancy, say Susan needs to be found.
We have to keep hoping and believing that she's out there.
The Bachmans say Susan was last seen on the 4th of July when they were driving her to a mental hospital in Du Bois, Pennsylvania. While on Interstate 80, the Bachmans say Susan jumped out of the moving car.
Landed on the berm, rolled over, jumped up, and ran into the woods, which is the last time we've ever seen her.
The Bachmans have driven across the country to San Francisco looking for her because that's where they believe she was headed. If you come across her, call local police and email the family at findsusanbachman@gmail.com.
We have to stay positive and get others to spread the word as much as possible.
In San Francisco, Philippe Jagal, KRON 4 News.
And this just into our newsroom. A pedestrian is in life-threatening condition after being hit by a vehicle tonight. Police say it happened on 24th and Mission Streets around 6 o'clock tonight. They say it appears that the driver had a green light and the pedestrian may not have been in a crosswalk. The driver is cooperating with police. We have crews on the way, and we'll give you an update when we learn new information. Coming up at 8, a new study reveals the Bay Area has been losing billions of gallons of water every year. We'll explain what's causing the staggering loss. And a blast from the past. Robin Williams visited the KRON 4 studios more than 10 years ago. We have a look back at his special appearance. And next, fighting in Iraq continues as the U.S. expands targeted airstrikes. Why U.S. officials are focusing their efforts on protecting the strategic Mosul Dam for fear it could be used to drown an entire city.